Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson. You're watching the 505 on Racing Show. Welcome. Hope everybody had a nice holiday weekend, depending on what you did for the holiday. I know I had a great time. Got to see my girls. It's always good to see my girls. And you know, it's funny. Like NASCAR takes this week off for at least in the Cup Series and the Nationwide, I think it's the top 3 series. They take this weekend off. It's like this and Mother's Day. I think Mother's Day they run Saturday night in the Nationwide. But anyway, it's a welcome break for a lot of the teams this time of year, even though it's kind of early in the season. But it's a welcome break. You get to regroup the teams that are struggling a little bit, maybe. And for the teams that are on a roll, maybe they don't want to see the week off. But it's good to have a weekend off every once in a while, no matter what you're doing. Whether you're doing this to make money or you're doing this to have a good time. But you know, there's other things in life besides racing. You know, we tend to forget that sometimes. I know I look back at all the things that I missed out on, at least. You know, and I can remember people would say to me or friends, "Hey, I got engaged and get married. Oh, when do you get married? Oh, I'll get in July, the third Saturday." And I'm like, wow, well, it's gonna be nice. I can't go home racing. And a lot of us do that. A lot of us plan our lives, and I say us, so those of us involved with racing, you know, we plan our summer activities around the race schedule. Now, I've said a dozen times or so in the past about how years ago we didn't look at a schedule. We knew our local racetrack was Saturday night. The main divisions were running, you know, every week. There were no weeks off. It's different now. And I don't know if it's different because the economy has changed so much or the way we do business as racers has changed. We continue to go racing every week and week in and week out. But what I'm finding, and I see this with a lot of teams, you know, and let's take our weekly guys, and not just here on Long Island, but all throughout the country. You know, the weekly racing series, it's, you know, struggling just like every other business in the United States of America. Yeah? But when you look at this new scheduling, I'll call it, what's happening, in my opinion, what's happening is this. A competitor who is loyal to the XYZ series and goes to every XYZ event for years and years and years, and all of a sudden that schedule changes. Now, I think I said not too long ago when I was packing some stuff up, I found a T-shirt for, I believe it was the 2003 Whelen Modified Tour Series, back when it was the Featherlight Modified Series. And I found this T-shirt, and it had all the races listed on the back. And if I'm not mistaken, there were 26 events, starting with the Icebreaker at Thompson and ending with the World Series at Thompson. But there were 5 Thompsons, there was 5 Staffords, you know, Riverhead, Beach Ridge, Holland up in New York, and Beach Ridge up in Maine. Let's see, Seekonk. There were races all over the place, and you basically raced, if not every week, 3 out of 4. Now what's happened is the schedule's, you know, 15, 16 races, at least in the modified series here in the Northeast, and that spreads out from April through October. So there's 6 months and 15 races. So that's 6 months, there's 26 weeks. So there's 10 weeks off. So what happens in those 10 weeks? A racer is going to go racing. A racer is going to find another series, another track, another division, something. And that's, I think, is what's happening. You know, there's a handful of modified racing series that are out there. And, you know, with that, what's happening is there's been a shift. And I can remember, not that far back, you know, maybe 10 years ago, not even, sending home in the modified, sending home, when I mean send home, they didn't qualify, sending home more cars than we were racing some events. I remember going to Riverhead, we had, you know, 55, 60 cars, and we started, I think, 28. A lot of guys and gals went home. And looking at, you know, it's for reasons known to only myself right now, I look at the Riverhead qualifying over the last 8, 10 years. The difference between making the pole and sitting on the pin and going home is like under 0.3 of a second. Tough place to qualify. Tough place to race. Some good races, but a tough place to race. Tough. The hardest part there is qualifying. It's the hardest part. I mean, 0.3 of a second is a hiccup. And then there's some of the other bigger tracks where it might not be tenths of a second, but when you're going at the speeds that you go at New Hampshire, for instance, and not that they have trouble filling the field there, but when they did, half a second was the difference between the pole and going home. Now, you had a couple of guys maybe that were more than a half a second, maybe they were 2 or 3 seconds. But when you look at that, when you go back and look at that, it's wow. It really is. It's incredible. But again, you have a lot of what's the word? All the modified series, I think, are becoming diluted because you have a handful of guys running this modified series, a handful of guys running that modified series, a handful of guys running this modified series. And you find some guys and gals going from one to the other. And when I say one to the other, you don't see a lot of the MRS teams coming to the Whelen Modified Tour for whatever reason. And talking to some of them, a lot of them say it has to do with cost. And in reading the rules on the MRS compared to the tour, the Modified Tour, the cost is different. Licensings are different. What's required for the crews, because there's no pit stop, so you don't need 4 or 5 guys to come down and help you out and put them in fire suits, helmets, and shoes and whatnot. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm thinking if I'm going to be working on a car, I want to be protected no matter what series I'm in. But how did that happen? And the purses that they're running for are a lot less. And I remember, I think I said this not too long ago, Ed Cox met with some key owners a few years back when the True Value series was just kicking in for the modifieds. And there was a handful of tour regulars who were running that series. And Ed said, guys, if you continue to run this show in this series, you're going to see that, the promoters are going to see that you're willing to race for XYZ to win. And you're going to hurt our series. And they all laughed and they're, no, that's not going to happen, but it's happening. It's happening because promoters are business people. Promoters want to make money. Promoters, they don't do this for a hobby like a lot of the racers do. Promoters do this because this is their business, and their window of opportunity to make money is real short. And a lot of them, it's April through October, and throw in a couple of rainouts, they have a 20-week season. Now, it's really not a 20-week season, it's a 20-day season. So think about how much you lose by missing a day. Think about your own job. If you only work 20 days a month and you got to pay all your bills in those 20 days and you miss a day, it hurts. Just something to think about, folks. 'Cause I know a lot of times people blame NASCAR and they blame the promoters and they blame the racetracks and they blame the officials. They want to put the blame. Why did this happen? A lot of this happened because we as competitors want to race every week. So we race in other places. And look what's happening. And a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this one, but it's just one of those things, folks. The car counts are low in the weekly series. And why is that? Well, it's not one single thing. In my opinion, it's not one single thing. Officials have been making what competitors call bad calls since racing started. And depending on which end of the call you're on, whether it's a good call or a bad call. Because and I'll tell you what, I've been doing this for a long time. When I say this, involving racing for a long time, I've never heard a driver get out of his race car and say, nope, you're official right, nope, I strike that. Bill Park of Riverhead about 12, 14 years ago, I black flagged him. And his crew came up screaming at me, screaming at me. Those who aren't familiar with Riverhead, there's a ramp that I kind of watch the races from, and can I see the far corner as well as the near corner? No, but I had a man down there, I had an official down there that would watch that, and we're under caution, and Bill Park, he felt he was wronged by so-and-so, and I didn't see that. My cornerman didn't see it, so Bill decided to take matters into his own hand, and he crashed into him and took off a wheel or something. So as they're coming around, now he hit it with an old bumper, but when it was coming around, I put the black flag out and pointed to the pits, and he went screeching off the track and all angry, but his crew comes running up screaming at me. He didn't do that, he didn't do that, he didn't. And then Bill gets out of his car and he comes running up, and I think he's gonna run out and yell at me, and he went and said to his crew, guys, I did what he said I did. So, correct me, one driver in all those years, in the 6,000 plus events that I've officiated in my lifetime, one driver, because it's never their fault. It's never the driver. And that was the same way when I drove, when we got into it with somebody. No, it wasn't my fault. You came down on me, you came up on me, you did this, you did that, And I look back and, probably 9 times out of 10, it wasn't my fault. But anyway, I don't know. I don't know what people what they expect. But like I said, bad officiation. It's not. I don't believe that any official shows up at a racetrack and says, "I think I'm going to do bad today. Who can I mess around with?" Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I know I always went to the racetracks over the years with the intent to do the best that I could under the circumstances I was provided with. And you know what? Many given date, a lot of people wouldn't agree with some of the calls I made or the decisions I made, but it's a tough thing. You call it based on how you see it. And it's like the old, the car accident in your neighborhood on the corner. Police show up and they start talking to people, and they talk to 4 people, and 4 people have 4 different versions of what happened. They looked at the same wreck, the same accident in their corner. Who saw this, who saw that, who saw the other thing? Reminds me of a class I took in law school. It was evidence and procedure. First day of the class, the professor walks in, and we're all sitting in the room, and of course they write their name on the blackboard, and I think they use whiteboards now with dry erase. But anyway, it was with chalk and slate. They wrote on it. They wrote their name, Professor so-and-so. And with that, the professor starts talking about the curriculum, what we're going to learn, what we're going to talk about. And with that, as he's in the middle of his introduction, 3 guys walked in and appeared to beat him up. Now, what we didn't realize is that the 4 guys sitting in the front chairs who were there breaking it up really weren't breaking it up. What they were doing was holding the class back from doing something to the perpetrators. The guys who were beating him up run out of the classroom, they run down the hall in different directions, and then the professor starts yelling, "Everybody write down what you saw. I'm calling campus security. We're going to find out. We're going to get to the bottom of this." And he's all ranting and raving. His glasses are broke. I mean, it was all staged. It turns out it was all staged. So now campus security is on their way, and he tells everybody, "Write down what you saw. Just write it down so it's fresh in your mind." Campus security comes in, and what happens? He goes, "Did everybody write down everything? Who didn't do it?" Nobody raised their hand because we all did it. And we all want to be helpful because, it's good for brownie points. So now he says, "Okay, folks, I really wasn't getting beat up. And these big guys in the front, they're on the football team, and they were there to hold you back." And he brings in the perpetrators, supposedly. They poked their head in the door, and they kind of left. And he says, "All right, now one by one, we're going to stand up and read what we saw." And depending on one person said the guys were big, one person said they were little, one guy said they were black, one guy said they were white, another one person said they were Hispanic, or who had brown hair, who had yellow hair, who had red hair, who was bald, who was wearing jeans, who was wearing dress pants. Not one person in this classroom had the same thing, because we all see things different. That's just the moral of the story. So as an official, you see things differently from what the competitor. And remember, as a crew member, a spotter, a crew chief, you're watching primarily, for the most part, your race car, not the 30 others that are out there. whereas an official is trying to watch all of them. So you're going to notice every bump and ding and push and shove that your car gets, not realizing what's going on around him or her. Anyway, yes, talking about officiating. Anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some stuff that's going on here locally and whatever else we're going to talk about. Some of the stuff's going on with Cup and all that good stuff. We'll be back.
I'm Nikki Lorenzo, and be sure to watch In or Out, pun intended, on Friday nights on inravio.com.
Transmission of lice occurs from being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Like catching a cold or a flu.
You have guaranteed peace of mind in every bottle of Got Lice because all of our products are completely natural,
And organic.
but strong enough to cover all your lice removal needs while being safe and effective. Our professional technicians are specially trained with our exclusive proven technique to successfully comb out head lice. We come right to your home at your convenience.
Whenever you want us.
We bring everything needed to perform a successful and complete comb out while eliminating your head lice. And we leave you with our exclusive complimentary products to use for the next 10 days following our treatment.
For free.
Our technicians also check all family members who have been exposed to lice. Please visit us on our website today at gotlice.co or feel free to call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 646-257-0121.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit hansoncarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey Beatle fans, I'm Glenn Calderon.
And I'm Lucy Diamond.
Join us every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time for Beatles Across the Universe.
On inravio.com.
Broadcasting to the world.
Catch us.
InRavio.com.
Hey, we're back. Hey, this week at Stafford Motor Speedway at Stafford Springs, Connecticut, they'll have the Spring Sizzler. It's always a good event. It's Stafford's way of kicking off the season for the modifieds. You know, Thompson always has the icebreaker. That's the first points race. And the Spring Sizzler, I believe it's like the 41st annual, if I'm not mistaken, for the modifieds. Well, the Spring Sizzler itself, you know, Stafford. I'll tell you what, one of my favorite places to go. Whether it's as a fan, as a competitor, as an official, I was always treated well there. And, you know, the Roots have a nice facility there. The food's decent. I just like the layout of the place. It's just, there's everything about that place I just like. And, you know, it's funny. It was a guy that I did a radio show with years ago when I was on Speed Racing Radio, Mike Fields. Mike Fields had told me all about this place, Stafford Motor Speedway. And I looked at a map. I said, oh, I'm not going to go all the way up there. Oh, no, you're kidding? I'm not going there. And then when I went there as a tour official, I was like, wow, I wish I would have came here. And I knew a couple of guys that went up there and ran what they had back then as pro stocks. Tommy Ryan, for one, who is now with Hendrick. He raced figure eights at Riverhead and then moved to pro stocks at Stafford. I remember getting a Christmas card from Tommy Ryan. It was a picture of his car at Stafford. And even then I was like, oh man, it was a beat up guardrail and I don't know. That was kind of funny. You know, I was a Riverhead guy. So it was one of those things. So let's see. The NASCAR Wheelers Southern Modified Tour went to Caraway to get rained on, and the K&M Pro Series each will be at Richmond this weekend, so it's all good. Anyway, people asking questions in the chat room, so no better time to go in. We lost Kenny Hyde Sr. today. Kenny passed away suddenly. Before I went to air, I was trying to find out, the cause of death, and I wasn't able to get anybody who knew. But Kenny Hyde, for those who don't know, he was a figure eight racer for many, many years. I remember when I started racing figure eights at Riverhead back in the late 80s. Kenny was just starting out himself in figure eights. And him and I, we didn't always see eye to eye in the racetrack, nor did we see eye to eye on the racetrack either. But Kenny and I did a little story I always tell about this guy. Him and I decided we were going to put on a show and wreck each other. So it was lap one, turn one. He sent me into the fence. I went in, bent up some sheet metal, knocked the car out of tow and whatnot. So I waited for my opportunity, and while the line is back up, of course I was last. I pulled up alongside of him, and he gave me the signal. No brakes, no brakes. All right, we'll see. And then a few laps later, when he was coming up to lap me, all of a sudden I didn't have any brakes either, and I sent him into the wall. And then we stopped at the X. Well, I stopped at the X because the traffic was coming. One of the few times that I did stop at the X. And I see in my mirror Kenny coming around the corner, and I said, man, I gotta go. And it wasn't an opening. Well, he lines up right behind me, and he just drops the clutch and mashes the pedal, and he pushes me through the intersection. I got hit by half the field. Bill Steen, he went airborne over me. We literally took out half the field. Then we just started backing into each other, hitting each other on the racetrack. And of course, we were asked to leave the facility and go meet with the officials there after the show, which we did. And we both got a hefty little fine and a little vacation. And we used to joke about it years later. The hardest part of that suspension wasn't sitting out, wasn't paying the fine. It was having to sit in the grandstands with our kids. His kids, Kim and Kenny Jr. were quite young at the time, as were my girls. And there we were, as our wives were in the pit area having a grand old time. But we didn't see eye to eye over that event. But the funny thing about it was, and I'll never forget this, come back from suspension, and I have that bad wreck. And of course, everybody knows what happened there and in the hospital. And the first guy that came to my house after I was released from the hospital was Kenny Hyde. And he put his head in my door, and he said, I'll never forget this, he goes, "You all right?" I said, "Yeah, I'm good, I'm a little mangled up, but I'm good, I'll heal." And he goes, "You need anything?" I said, "No, I'm good, everything like that." And he goes, "I just want to let you know," he goes, "We hate each other on the racetrack. I hate you, you hate me, and that's how it's going to be." He goes, "But when something like this happens, we got to all stick together." And I'll never forget that. It took a lot for that guy to drive from his house in Medford all the way to my house in Babylon, not knowing what the reaction was going to be, whether I was going to say, "Get the heck out," whatever. And his wife came in first. His wife at the time, she came in first and wanted and spoke to my wife and said, "Kenny's outside. Can he come in? And he just wants to see Joe." And "Yeah, sure. I'll bring him in." And that's just what it is. But he was that type of guy. Kenny, he always had immaculately prepared race cars, the purple race cars, and his purple T-shirts, and he had won the best appearing car award numerous times. And in the figure eight class, that's not an easy task to do. I mean, I always joked around. I said, you get in a wreck on Saturday. What's the first thing you do Sunday? Do the body panels to make it look good? What do you have, a whole supply later on? They used to tease about that. The following week, it came back all looking good. The tea house in place, the lettering all placed. Like he had a whole string of race cars sitting in a shop somewhere. Little did most people know he worked out of his garage in his driveway. 1999, 2000, and 2003, Kenny was the national figure eight champion, winning that event. That used to be the world championship figure eight race. The guy could drive a race car. But, championships just seemed to elude him. He worked hard. He fought hard on the racetrack and in the pit area some nights too. But he never got that championship, the points championship, the title. He always fell a little bit short. But his son took care of that last year, winning the championship in the figure eights at Riverhead Raceway. And I know, I just saw a picture today of the joy that they had together doing that. Not only on the racetrack when he had one of those wins, but also at the banquet, the Safer banquet. And presenting Kenny, I had the opportunity to present Kenny Hyde Jr. with what they call the Perpetual Cup for figure eight racing that John Wellman started through the Big Brothers Big Sisters. And it's like the Stanley Cup of figure eight racing. Kenny Hyde, he was a good guy, Kenny Hyde. And, it's funny, if I needed something, he had it, I had it, and vice versa. Even though we had, we wrecked each other and we had some nights that we were rolling on the pavement, but, when I needed something, I could call him, whether it was a U-joint, a transmission, a shifter, a wheel, a welder, whatever I needed, a tow. He was in the towing business. And it's funny, it was, what do I owe you? Whatever, we'll trade off, whatever. But Kenny Hyde, he was a good guy. He will be missed. And here at Enravio and 505 on, our hearts are out to Kenny and his family. Viewing will be in Medford, New York on Horseback Road at the McManus Laurie Funeral Home Thursday. I believe it's 2 to 4 and 7 to 9, Thursday, April 24th. If anybody knew Kenny, knows his family, even people that don't know him, keep them in your prayers tonight and throughout the season. Let's keep, every time you watch a figure eight race, think of Kenny. We'll be back.
Hey, Beatle fans, I'm Glenn Calderon.
And I'm Lucy Diamond.
Join us every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time for Beatles Across the Universe.
On InRavio.com.
Broadcasting to the world.
Catch us.
Hi, I'm Dave Canfield, host of Nerdgasm.
I'm Joe Winchell. Nobody likes me.
And I'm Peppercorn Montgomery.
Tune in every Wednesday night only on InRavio.com to hear the greatest nerd discussion of all time. It is Nerdgasmic.
It'll be the best nerdgasm you've ever had.
Hey, we're back. Yeah, during the break, I'm scrolling through the chat room, see some of the things that are being discussed today. MyRaceNews.com, WJ, had commented how Stafford Motor Speedway disrespects internet media. And he's not wrong in that thought process. And maybe disrespects the media is a little strong, but you know, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Think about all the internet.com people who follow the races, cover the races. Some of them, because that's what they do, and they get the word out to the rest of the people who maybe weren't there or who were there and need a different perspective. And then there's the ones who take advantage of that. They're going to say that they're in internet media so they can get into the races for free, and you know they're out there. So, you know, Stafford kind of weeds through that, or at least tries to. Now, and I know the incident, not the incident, it's a major thing with MyRaceNews.com not being recognized at Stafford Motor Speedway. Now, sometimes just sending a letter off or making a phone call doesn't always do the trick. Maybe sometimes you got to go there and show your face and maybe have some printouts. Hey, this is what we do. You know, maybe that's something that needs to be. You know, I don't know. I don't know. They want to deny all but. Yeah, my races say they deny all but one. Now, I don't know who that one is, and I'm sure My Race News knows who it is. And I don't really get into the politics of, no, stop laughing, I really don't get into the politics of what goes on at racetracks. I mean, I used to. But I don't know. I know Mark Root very well. I've worked with him and met with him and chatted with him and argued with him many a times, especially when I was back in my race director days. I remember arguing with Mark Root over whether or not we should run a show or not back in 2004. Not too far from the day where Tommy Baldwin lost his life at Thompson. And the place, it rained all morning, most of the afternoon, and you know, Ed Cox and I, we were talking. We were going to pull the plug. We made a phone call down to Daytona to speak to the powers to be, and the powers to be said, "It's your call," you know. And so we met with Mark Root, and we said, "Mark, I don't even think we met. I think we called him, and because we couldn't find him, and within minutes, he was at a hauler in his SUV and came in the office, ranted and raving, and rightfully so, because, you know, he can't afford a rain out. It was one of those years that rained often, and he goes, let's go, you two, let's go. We get in his SUV, and he drives onto the racetrack, and he goes, Ed, Joe, if we don't run this race tonight, it'll be the last tour race ever scheduled here. With that, he comes off of turn 2, and mind you, it would rain all day. He punches out the gas pedal, and my head and my body buries into the seat. We're going down the backstretch. I don't know how fast we're going. And he makes the turn in 3. He goes, now, if my truck could make this turn, I'm thinking the modifieds can too. We need to run this show. And we go in the office and we talk a little bit like, you know, grown men this time, and we ended up putting the show, and I'll never forget this day, Howie Brody. And I was never a big Howie Brody fan, but he earned my respect this day because he said from the beginning, I'm not racing. They need to call this off. And when they didn't call it off, all of a sudden I saw Howie Brody load up. And a bunch of other people said they weren't going to race either, but he loaded up his race car. He closed the door in his trailer. He backed out of sight and he pulled out. He goes, I'm not doing this. Now, all the other big mouths that were with him, yeah, we're behind you. We got you. Nope. I earned a lot of respect for Howie that day. A lot of respect. But, oh, yes, WJ, I know who you're talking about. You know, yes. Yeah, I'm not going to mention the name, but, yeah, I know who you're talking about. And I don't understand that myself. But, you know, it's like the politics of these places. You don't know what's behind the scenes. You know, and I know you. Anytime you request things, I've never heard you vicious or rude or nasty with anybody, especially when it comes to trying to get stuff for, from myracenews.com and people out there. And, many people they don't realize how many people you got, working for myracenews.com, and you often have to wonder, why that guy, not me? And I've been asking myself that question for a long time. But no, I think we all know who it is. We don't need to get into that. But race credentials. I walked around the racetrack last year. I think it was last year. And it's at a racetrack where the racetrack's going to remain nameless, but it's at a racetrack where the VIP sign in for free people have a different colored wristband, so it stands out. And I'm walking around the pit area, and I'm looking around, and attention to detail. It's one of the things I'm good at. One of the things, and I'm looking at a lot of people working on race cars with the VIP. I got in for free wristband, which, by the way, technically, when you sign in like that, you're not supposed to work on a race car. You're not supposed to do anything other than walk around. You're a fence grabber from the inside, as I call them. So I was walking, I went into the stands, I was looking for my kids, and I'm walking down the backstretch in the grandstand, and you see a lot of empty seats, but I'd have to say that half the people I saw that night in the grandstand had get in for free wristbands. So I'm looking at I see one of the people. I go up to him. I said, you signed in here? I said, yeah. I was like, huh? I used to be a tour official. Yeah, I know you used to be. Well, they don't know that I'm not. Oh. I go to the next person. I see, you signed in VIP? Yeah. How does that happen? Well, I promote a racetrack. Promote a racetrack? Where? Upstate New York. Really? Don't they run on Saturdays? Yeah. Well, how come you're here and they're racing right now? Well, but it was a whole big long story. And here I am, a touring official, and they wouldn't let me sign in. I had to pay. And then I went inside and had a little chat, and I never had to pay again. But I don't know. It's just one of those things, But there's so many people that take advantage of racetrack, and you look about it. Don't think about this. Think about it. Yes, should certain people go in for free? Absolutely. Absolutely. The press, the media, whether you write for a newspaper or you have an internet site. Should they weed out some of these guys that come on, I mean, let's face it. There's people that are doing this from their bedrooms, and with their camera phone, and video recording themselves. And, I don't think that person deserves to be in there. But then there's the people that, I have a website, I have this, and they've been able to, BS their way into it. And maybe they're friends with the promoter, not the promoter, with the PR people, or maybe they're friends with an official who, I'll get you signed in, don't worry about it, and it gets out of control, you know. If you took away the freebies at some of these racetracks, the grandstands would be empty. But then again, it's the back gate that pays the bills. A lot of people don't realize that. The back gate pays the bills. What you bring in the back gate has to cover your purse, your sanction fees, your insurance, your payroll, and all your operating expenses. The front gate, the tickets, the grandstands, that's supposed to be your gravy. And then each one of those people that bought a ticket to come in and sit down and get their piece of the bleacher, so to speak, they're going to spend XYZ dollars at the concession stand. Whether they get a hamburger, a hot dog, a soda, a beer, whatever it might be, you know. But I know in today's economic times, a lot of these racetracks are saying no to a lot of credential people. Even you know, the last couple of years, even on the tour, we as officials, we were limited to 4 guests. Now, there's a way around that, and everybody did it. You know, like when we went to a certain racetrack up in New Hampshire, and I don't mean New Hampshire Motor Speedway, Monadnock. I didn't have any friends or people going up there, but one of my buddies who was an official, that's where he was from, so he needed people. But he used up his 4, and I put 4 on my list. And the same thing at Riverhead. You know, it seemed like my whole family and people who I hadn't seen since high school wanted to get on the list for free because, you know, I want to watch the modifieds. So each one of those guys, I go up to each one. You have any people come to Riverhead? Can you put these couple on? Can you put these couple on? Can you put these couple on? You know, but we all did it. But what happened was that got out of control too because there was one official who had crew members signed in on their guests and they're working on race cars, and it kind of ruined it for everybody. And promoters see that, and one of the promoters called NASCAR, wanted to know, why is so-and-so on this guest list? They're a crew chief for such and such. Why is this guy on the guest list? He's a retired driver. He's helping so, and it just ruined it for everybody else. So have they been scrutinizing the racetracks? Have they been scrutinizing who's going to get in and who's not? Yeah, they haven't. They haven't. Does it make it right? I'm not saying it makes it right or wrong. I'm just saying that, you know, when your attendance isn't what it once was, you have to cut the cord a little bit and limit the number of people who can come in. You know, not sticking up for Stafford here in this event because, you know, myraces.com is a real website, a real racing website with guys at tracks all over the place, and you know, because I get the updates on my Facebook, and you know, it's like there's a staff of 100 sometimes, you think, because between the pictures and the updates and who's at what track from New Hampshire down to South Carolina. But you know, you gotta wonder sometimes. And I don't know my races. I wouldn't give up yet. I really wouldn't give up yet. You know, sometimes. I didn't my publisher put it, he goes, it's not how many no's you get, it's the one yes, the first yes that you get. So I wouldn't give up. Yeah, anyway, that's so good. We're going to take a break. We come back. I got the Formula One results from the Chinese Grand Prix coming up when we come back.
Hey, this is Gina Cotillo from The Gina Show. Come join us every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for celebrity interviews, Reality Reel with Billy Charles, funny stories with Brian Kinnear, and much, much more. The Gina Show can be found only on InRadio.com, broadcasting to the world, so come and catch us.
Remember
For over 60 years, Hansen Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hansen Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansenCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hansen Carpet has got you covered.
We're back. That was a long one, but hey, we got to pay the bills, you know. Anyway, the Formula One Grand Prix, the Chinese Grand Prix was won by Lewis Hamilton out of England, followed by Nico Rosberg, Fernando Alonso, Daniel Ricciardo, and Sebastian Vettel finishing fifth. The points after the fourth event of their 19-race season. Nico Rosberg is first in the points, Lewis Hamilton second, Fernando Alonso third, Nico Hülkenberg fourth, and Sebastian Vettel fifth. Cup points, I know it's early in the season. Jeff Gordon is the point leader with a 1-point advantage over Matt Kenseth every lap, every point, it all means something. Carl Edwards third in points, Dale Earnhardt Jr. fourth, and Jimmy Johnson fifth in the point standings. And I'll tell you the way they're doing the chase. I'm not a fan of the chase. Everybody knows, but I'm sure NASCAR has its reasons for doing the chase and then trying to tweak it to make it better. Nobody makes changes to make things worse. You're always hoping to make it better. I don't know. I was looking again through one of my old NASCAR books, and I'm looking at the points and how they work. And the bigger paying races got more points, and the low paying races only got a small amount of points. How about this? Whatever the race pays, that's how many points you get, and whoever makes the most money is the point leader. So you win the big ones. But no, I don't think that would work either. But you're looking, I don't know. You're looking at a complicated system. Do you want to reward consistency? Do you want to reward who wins the most races? What are you looking to reward? And I think with a 36 race season, you want to reward consistency. Now the chase, and I call it the playoffs. It's really like the playoffs, and you have to do certain things. You have to finish in the top, so to be in the points, and you have to win a race and to be in the points. Now, so what does that mean? So the others who they don't count? I don't know. When somebody's running away with a big point advantage with 3-4 weeks left in the season, there's certain things that NASCAR could do to tighten that up. Some competition yellows, tighten up to make it a better race. I looked at some finishes years ago from back in the 60s and 70s where the winner had like a 4-lap lead over the second place. How does that happen? I don't know. 22 figure eight's telling us the Formula One race was flagged 1 lap early because the flag man screwed up. See, I didn't watch it. What was I doing this weekend? I'm trying to remember. I don't know what I was doing. I think I was just running around doing stuff. And watching the Formula One race is tough for me, because I don't know a lot of these guys. Not that I know them personally. I go to the house and stuff, but I'm like, oh, okay. There's no single driver that's catching me. I want to watch that guy race. And I think that's what's missing in Formula One in today, is that there's no name recognition. Is there brand recognition? To a degree, but I'm not going to go run out and I don't know. I don't want to name a company and give them a free thing, but I'm not going to go run out and buy an Acme battery for my car because some guy from Italy is driving a car that's sponsored by Acme battery. But I might ship a pack by a UPS because I started a race car. Well, I wouldn't use FedEx, and those in the circle know why. But they do a fine job, FedEx, a real fine job. But I just don't understand, because the way the cars are built, and they're traveling billboards as well, but they're just hard to read. I don't know. I don't know, but I don't know a lot of people that sit and watch Formula One races anymore. Like I said, there's no name recognition, there's no guy that says, I got to see if this guy went today. When I watched that movie Rush last summer, it was about that type of racing and what went on behind the scenes. Man, who knew? But you want to talk about a rich man's sport? That's a rich man's sport, Formula One racing. You think NASCAR has expenses? Oh, man. At least NASCAR, they're pretty much staying in North America. They do. They stay in the United States for the most part. Maybe the nationwide goes to Canada, and you have the Mexico Series. And the Euro Series, they do their own thing in Europe. But, these guys are all over the globe. They're in, Africa, Asia, Canada, United States, China, everywhere, Tokyo, all over the place. Think about the logistics of that. Just crossing borders and customs and getting your equipment there. For what? But that's how it is. And different class of people that are running Formula One cars, and and the way they look and the way they act, the way they present themselves. And like I said, I don't watch a lot of Formula One racing, but you know, when you look at it, the few times that I do, I'm like, wow, these guys have their act together, and you know, they make it happen. And I'll tell you what, you know, a lot of it's for the most part road course stuff through cities and airports and things of that nature, and for the most part, they're not beating and banging each other. Does that stuff happen? Absolutely. You know, I don't know. What do they say? The only way to support yourself racing through endorsements if the purses are so low, and the purses are low. You know, it's all relative. You know, I said last week that the winner of the Cup race got like $328,000 for the victory, and 9 times out of 10, the driver doesn't get that. It's not like in the 60s where the teams were driver owner were the same. You know, these drivers are on contract. They're under contract, and they get a salary, a weekly paycheck. You know, weekly paycheck. Do they get a little side action if there's a win, a top 3, a top 5, top 10? I'm sure it's all written into their contract. A lot of them, it's more endorsement driven, you know, stuff that they do for the sponsors. But when you think about what some of these teams are making, and they're not making money because their sponsors are shelling out, you know, $30 million a year, $25 million a year for the right to have their logo on a race car. And then, you know, these sponsors at the end of the, you know, on a Monday, how'd we do? We watched, and our marketing people say our logo was only viewed, you know, for 6 minutes. Because minutes, TV minutes, that all equates as a whole big formula, you know, your TV time. And what that equates to in dollars if you had to buy that. And I can remember when I was working for UPS, that was a big thing. How much TV time did we get? You know, and there'd be meetings about that. You know, how much TV time did we get? How many times is our logo visible? And to have it be visible, you need to be running up front because the camera guy's not focusing on 25th place. Hey, let's go. Let's take a look at the back of the pack. We got so and so. They're battling for 26th and 27th place. They're not back there doing that. You know, what they're doing is they're looking up front. They're looking at top 5. They're looking down pit road. You know, the top 3 pull into the pits and do the split screens. Let's see who gets out first. And you're looking like, wow, whoa, that's my company. Whoa, that's good. You know, it's all about exposure. And you know, Formula One, and it'll cost a lot of money to go do that. And some of these companies put up a lot of money, but a lot of the money comes from the manufacturers of these cars. You know, I think Mercedes is blowing it away in the Formula One with the manufacturers' points. I believe they have a 100-point lead over the second place. But you know, back in the day, you know, it was McLaren, Ferrari, you know, things of that nature. Now, you know, even in Indy, it's the manufacturers. It's big. But now in Indy, it's like there's only the majority of the cars are one manufacturer, one team, and not one team, but one manufacturer, and there's one other that has a couple of cars. So when you look at that, I'm like, wow, it's not like in NASCAR. NASCAR, you know, you get your Ford, your Chevy, and your Toyota, and you know Dodge, you know, no longer involved really. But again, when you think about it, the sponsorship, that's what drives racing. And I have said this a million times. I went on and on last week about sponsorship and how to get it and what to do with it and how to keep it. And when you look at that, it's the return on the investment. You know, the days of I got a fistful of $100 bills and I got to get rid of them are over. You know, yeah, you know, in the 50s, 60s, even in the 70s, was there a lot of what I call money laundering going on in racing? Absolutely. I mean, come on, let's face it. All these bootleggers, they had a lot of cash to get rid of. You can only spend so much, and before Uncle Sam starts looking. So what do? You go racing. You go racing, and that's what they did. You know, a lot of it's for bragging rights. You know, hey, I got a fistful of $100 bills I got to get rid of. Let's all get together at this track and see who's got the best. That's how this all started. For those of you who don't want to believe that, that's how this all started. But, you go back into the 30s and the 40s of stock car racing, prior to NASCAR, how many promoters would show up at a racetrack and promise these drivers the world, and they'll go out racing, and that guy, he's just there. He just rented a cornfield and threw up some bleachers, and will convince the local guy with a horse track, let me wear my stock cars over here. And as the cars are racing, he's counting the purse money, and he ain't putting in envelopes to hand out. He's putting in envelopes to put in a briefcase and go home. And that's when, Big Bill France showed up and said, this can't be. And, I've never read this anywhere, but I bet you Bill France got screwed up with a lot of purse monies when his racing days were going on, and he probably figured, we got to do this. We got to do something so this doesn't happen. And, when one of the things that NASCAR was doing, and I don't know if they're doing it too much anymore, between wire funds and transfers and things of that nature. But it used to be, and I remember, the purse money had to be because NASCAR was paying these purses, the purse money had to be in the bank. It was 48 hours prior to the event. So what did they do? You were guaranteed your money. Guaranteed your money. Now, a lot of the tracks, most tracks pay, you get a check in the mail, whether it's the weekly series or from the NASCAR awards. You get a check from those people. But there's a handful of tracks, a small handful of tracks that still pay out in cash, which, by the way, is okay, I guess. It's okay. I can remember one night at my local track here in Long Island, and Chad Little comes up to me with an envelope. I mean, a big envelope, a big manila envelope. It had the total purse in it for the. Chad goes, well, what am I supposed to do with that? So I had Score at the time, who was familiar with it. He goes, oh no, we have to break it up and put it into little envelopes and pay the teams. Chad goes, I'm not doing it. It had to be like 40, 50 grand. I was like, holy cow. It was back in the days when our local place here in Long Island was $6,000 to win. Now it's a third of that. But why is that? Well, there's a lot of reasons. But a lot of it has to do with the economy. A lot of it has to do with these other series that these teams are willing to race for $1,500 to win. A set of tires still costs the same amount, and 22 gallons of fuel still costs the same amount. But I'll tell you what, if you were to hold up a trophy and so, we got a parking lot out in such and such a town, and we're going to have a race here. Whoever wins is going to get this trophy. They're going to be there. That movie Field of Dreams about the baseball. Field of Dreams, build it and they will come. Make a racetrack, you'll have race cars out. You may not have a lot at the beginning because a lot of people got to say, well, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens there. Let's see if they treat that guy good. I don't know. Put the envelope in the trunk of my car. Yeah, I wish. But it's you look at the purses that are paid. I was just at a SAFER meeting, Suffolk Association Figure 8 Race, and we were talking about purses, and we were talking about how the purse in the Figure 8 division here in Long Island has not changed. In fact, it's gone down over the last 15 or 20 years, and a lot of that. When I say the purse, the total purse paid out for the Figure 8s is if they have a full field, it's around $2,800, $2,790 something, whatever it is, and it's like $400 or $450 to win. But it's been that forever. Been that forever. And when you think about it, the pit fee has gone. The pit fee has tripled in 20 years, and not just here, like everywhere. The pit fees have tripled. The cost of a set of tires has gone through the roof. Racing fuel is insane. And I remember going to a track upstate to race, and